Going on, guys? Triple G here again, and it is continuation of truck maintenance day, and this is also going to be kind of a review of a couple of Harbor Freight tools that I have: the Serpentine belt tool kit and the Pulley installer and remover set that they have. And I'm going to be demoing the use on these guys a little bit. First off is going to be removing the Serpentine belt. This guy, so far, I'd have to rate it as okay. I've used it a couple of times, and already I don't know if you can see that, but the metal in there, it's starting to get a little bit chewed up around that 8-way receiver on the main lever there. So I'm a little concerned about the softness of the steel in this thing, and I don't know how many times it'd be good for before it's not going to be useful for anything, because you really don't have to put a whole lot of pressure on this thing to make it work. But it still chews it up pretty bad. So I didn't have to use any of the other crow's feet or sockets that came with it. This half-inch square driver here fits, I think you can see in there, but it fits right into a receiver there on the tensioner arm. And then you just kind of twist that up counterclockwise and you slip your belt off. I don't think that I'm going to be able to really get a shot of this as I do it. I'll try, but I'm not feeling too confident that it's going to go in here. I don't even know if I'm getting a shot of that, but anyway, you just kind of find the right angle that fits in best into your engine bay and whatnot in there, and slip that guy in. Get it mated in as best you can. Crank that sucker back and slip the belt off of the idle arm. And then after you get all that tension off, then you can slip the belt off of the rest of your pulleys and do whatever other work you got to do if you're changing the belt, or, as I'm about to do, pull off the pulley from the power steering pump again, because this one that I bought is not grabbing. And you fire up the engine, and in about a minute or two, this pulley is slipping off of the shaft already, which is not cool. So I've ordered another one. Hopefully the pulley is what's out of round and not the power steering pump. Or out of spec, I should say, not out of round. Because the pulley's a whole lot easier to replace. Actually, you got to replace the pulley to do the power steering pump, so hopefully it's just that. So hold on a second, and we're going to get ready to pull this guy off. Okay, so to pull our pulley here, I've got our puller kit out. It's got some okay directions with it that don't seem to be written too badly in Chinese. And so the first step is to take the jack screw, this guy here, big one, and they call the button, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this on the camera here, but the button here goes into the jack screw, into the end of it. It's got kind of a nitrile O-ring on it. It kind of holds it in place in the threads in the jack screw. So you just kind of screw that guy in there until that gets into position. Alright, so that's on there. And then we take they call this the pulley body. That's the big one. And then this will thread on here like yay, so that the flange is away from the hex nut end of it, and with the end with the button on it. So that guy fits in there just like that. Get that on there. And then this is kind of the tricky part. This is one of those things that you really need 3 hands for. On the oh god, what do they call this piece? Call this the jaw and sleeve assembly. So these are the jaws. two pieces, and there's two sides to them. There's a bigger side and a smaller side. So you got to make sure you got which one's which. And the bigger side is going to go around the pulley body, or the puller body, and the smaller side is going to go around the pulley. So let me make sure I got those right. Didn't get them screwed up. Okay. Yeah, definitely need 3 hands for this gig. Okay, that goes around there like yay. That goes around there like yay. And then there's this metal sleeve that goes around the whole thing and holds all that together. And then twist and back out the puller body by hand until you start to get a little bit of tension on there. And that will hold the whole deal together like yay. And I think that is, I think that's right. Maybe. Maybe not. Okay, could not get that on there right with the camera in the way, so I had to do that off cam. This is one of those procedures that'll make you swear a few times before you get it right. Okay, so now that we've got that all assembled on there, it's time to pull off the pulley. And this is actually kind of a relatively simple operation. It's not too tough at all. Got a 1/2-inch ratchet here, and that is set to tighten, because that's the direction that the that is the direction that the jack screw is going to be going. It's going to be in tighten mode. And then I've got a 10-inch C-wrench that I'm going to be twisting counterclockwise on the pulley body with, and that is what is going to remove our pulley from the shaft. And are we off already? Wow. Typically I don't think it would be that easy, but this one was already screwed up, so oh wait, nope. It's not off yet. That just got up to, wait a second, is it? Yep, it is. Wow. Okay, that was a lot easier than it really would be if you were actually pulling off one that was really stuck on there, but that kind of demonstrates the principle. Okay, next step is going to be to put the new one on, but I've got to go run and get it first, so off to the parts store. Okay, so we're back from the auto parts store at this point, and I am going to get a good shot there. Alright, at this point, we're going to go from pulley pulling mode, get the camera to stay, into pulley replacing mode. So, to do that, we're going to take our toolkit, and I can't see that here if that's in the shot, but we're going to take the jack screw, pull out the, what they call the button, that back there, and take the, what do call this thing, the puller body, that part there, take the appropriate installer, which I know is this one here for my Ford, and at this point I'm going to take some anti-seize goo, which I learned from the last one that I had. This is actually the second of these kits that I've had to have. I had to return the first one because the bearing assembly just fell apart on me. It did not work at all. Actually, I think it's the first time that I've ever had to return something to Harbor Freight. Never had to before. And just so you can see everything that I got going on here in the light, this is the jack screw, this is the puller body, this is the bearing, this is the thrust washer, this is the individual adapter for your vehicle that goes into the jack screw, And this is all going to go right into the pulley, onto the shaft there. Then crank that down, and that should theoretically press this guy right onto the shaft. See which way I've got the bearing going here. This is the bearing part right there, and this is the closed end. This is the open end. Open end is the one that goes up against the thrust washer, which goes up against the pulley. Make sure you got the pulley going on the right way with this flange facing out so that you can pull it off when the time comes, and it'll be going the right way onto your shaft. Okay, let's try and put this on. Alright, so you can see how this is in here. The end of the jack screw is screwed tightly into the threaded receiver in the shaft itself. This guy here is still loose. Tighten that down a little bit so that you can just start to suck that pulley up onto it just a little bit. Make sure that it's on there straight to begin with, because you don't want to have it cocked off of 90 degrees when you begin putting some tension on it. And then grab your trusty big ol' C-wrench and get the socket on there in the end of the jack screw, and just gently start turning. Start turning, start turning. After a couple of turns, check again, make sure that we're still on there square. Give it a few turns there. And that's not looking real square now. The problem that I had before. Okay, so I have figured out the problem here. And the problem is I don't know if I'm going to be able to demo it here on camera, but this flange on the what they call the puller body is not it's not square around its axis, and it was installing my pulley on skewed. So fortunately I noticed it before I actually put any real tension on it and deformed any metal in the wrong direction. Let me see if I can get a shot of something here so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, where are we here? I don't know if we can see this at all, but as we go around the axis here, this guy is moving back and forth. I don't know if you can see it, because I'm in the sun here and I can't see anything. But bottom line is, that is not cool. It is not going to work. So I'm real disappointed in this. I'm usually kind of a... Oops, lens was on the wrong side. That's why I wasn't getting that shot. I usually like Harbor Freight stuff a whole lot. It's usually a good deal for the price. But this one here... there we are. Let's see if we can see that there. See if that goes, as you spin it around on the shaft there, that guy is kind of wobbling, as it should not do. Yeah, you can see that pretty well there. And that is a whole lot of thousandths out. So I cannot use this tool to put it on because it's going to screw it up every single time. So Harbor Freight, on your pulley remover and installer set, I'm really disappointed. Doesn't work, and may have caused me a whole lot of hours of aggravation that I shouldn't have had. I never suspected that the tool itself was what was bad. But hey, live and learn. Alright, Triple G out for now. Alright, so I did a little bit of redneck machine work on my tool here, and everything seems to be all straight and true now. I took the angle grinder and ground it down so that face is as close to 90 degrees as I could get it with my eyeball anyway. So, now we're back into assembly mode. Cranked it down a few times and Just took all my stuff apart, make sure everything's all straight and true, and it looks really, really nice right now. So, to continue on, the jack screw and the adapter are tightened into the shaft nice and tight, and then the puller body itself is screwed down firmly onto the bearing behind the thrust washer, which is up against the pulley. Now at this point, when you're cranking it on, what you got to do is immobilize the pulley so that it can't turn. A lot of the videos that I've seen show somebody like ramming a long screwdriver or a steel rod or something through it, up against the flange or some of that. I don't really like that idea because A, it kind of puts it off at an angle, and also I don't know what I'm going to damage in the meantime. So I'm doing it with a ratchet strap tied off to some of the cross members on the steering down there, and that all seems to hold it nice and tight. So I'm going to go down and jack that in. Right now, so instead of the ratchet, I've just got an open-end wrench in here that I've got holding this guy on. It's a lot smaller and easier to maneuver around. And then I'm just going to get in here with my 10-inch C-wrench and crank this guy down until it doesn't go anymore. I guess that's kind of the key, is to just keep going until it stops. So I'm not going to show all this, but you'll see what I got going on here. And it takes a good amount of force to turn this nut at this point. She's on there pretty stiff. So we'll check back with you in a little bit when I got this guy seated. Okay, so it went from being hard to turn to all of a sudden really, really, really hard to turn. So I backed off the puller body nut and the bearing and all that, and the thrust washer, and it is now fully seated upon the shaft, all the way out to, looks like it's right about where it's supposed to go. So I'm guessing that's where it's supposed to be. Everything looks all straight and true, and all good. So at this point, we're going to kind of do a little happy dance and throw on our serpentine belt and fire it up and see if we have a little bit of success going on. Be right back. Alright! She's on there. She's staying on so far. Turn the wheel back and forth a little bit. It's no harder to turn than it ever was. So far so good. I think I'm confident enough now to throw the turbo ductwork back on, clean that oil out of there, and maybe we can take her for a ride. Okay, so final review on these tool kits, the serpentine belt kit and the pulley remover and installer set. Mixed. I'm a little disappointed that I had to do some redneck machine work on this guy to get it square to the whole operation here. It's still not perfect, but it's a whole hell of a lot closer than it was. I didn't want to take off much more than I did because I don't want to destroy the structural integrity of it for pulling off. I definitely don't want that thing to break when I'm in a pulling operation. So, decent if you can deal with those little few issues for the 16-17 bucks I paid for it, as opposed to a certain large well-known chain of auto parts stores who wanted to rent me pretty much the same thing by a well-known name brand for 30 bucks for an afternoon. And I can keep this one, and that I would have had to bring back. So, better than nothing, I guess. And on this guy here, once again, it's okay. I'm a little disappointed that the steel in the ratchet section, not ratchet, but the toothed section between the two bars, it's starting to deform a little bit. It's still a little bit soft. the steel on there, so I'm a little disappointed in that, but once again, for what it is, like 15 bucks, it worked and it did the job. So we got the belt off, we got it on several times. That's just this part here that's concerning me a little bit, but we'll see how many times I can get out of it before it finally lets go. So once again, it's pretty much what Harbor Freight tools are. They're the cheapest thing that you can find, and if you can get away with using them, God bless you. Alright. Thanks a lot. See you next time.